So, Vice President Kamala Harris was at George Mason University and interacting with some of the students. When one of the students raised this question, I want you to hear the question, and I want you to listen carefully to Vice President Harris's response.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jude. I'm part Yemeni, part Iranian. I'm not an American. But I do know that America affects my life every day. And it's in the way that a lot of taxpayer money is allocated for funding the military, whether it's in backing Saudi Arabia or in Palestine. And I bring this up because you brought up how the power of the people and demonstration and organizing is very valuable in America.
Yeah.
But I see that over the summer, there have been protests and demonstrations in astronomical numbers standing with Palestine. But then just a few days ago, there were funds allocated to continue backing Israel, which hurts my heart because it's an ethnic genocide and the displacement of people, the same that happened in America, and I'm sure you're aware of this. And I bring this up also because of the issue of how Americans are struggling because of lack of health care, public health care, lack of affordable housing, and all this money ends up going to in funding Israel and backing Saudi Arabia and whatnot. And I think that the people have spoken very often in what they do need, and I feel like there's a lack of listening, and I just feel like I need to bring this up because it affects my life and people I really care about's lives, and this is just something I had to bring up.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. And again, this is about the fact that your voice, your perspective, your experience, your truth should not be suppressed. And it must be heard, right? And one of the things that we're fighting for in a democracy, right? A democracy is its strongest when everyone participates. It is its weakest when anyone is left out. And that's not only about being physically present, but that your voice is present. I mean, I'll get back to the point that I was making and hinting at about the whole point about unity, right? Our goal should be unity, but not uniformity, right? When we talk about coalition building, when I think of coalition building and bringing everybody together in a unified spirit, it's about, yes, everyone, we should bring people together, understanding our commonalities, but unity should never be at the expense of telling any one person that, for the sake of unity, oh, you be quiet about that thing. You suppress that thing. Let's not deal with that thing. That's not unity. True unity is everybody in that room has a voice. And then we see where that ends up in terms of a healthy debate on the issues, right? And the point that you were making about policy that relates to Middle East policy, foreign policy, we still have healthy debates in our country about what is the right path. And nobody's voice should be suppressed on that.
What a miserable answer. What an absolutely miserable answer. Of course, first, it's the totally political answer to really not answer, to talk in generalities and to try to make some other larger point without really answering. But come on, you don't accuse Israel of practicing ethnic genocide, an absolutely abhorrent, abysmal lie. You don't accuse Israel of practicing that. And then as the vice president of the United States says, I'm glad you had your voice. I'm glad you expressed your truth. Friends, your truth, my truth may not be the truth. The only thing that matters is truth, not my restating of it or your restating of it or the students restating of it or the vice president's restating it. Israel is not guilty of ethnic genocide or anything that resembles ethnic genocide. It's an abhorrent, ugly, abysmal claim. And if you're going to be responsible in that setting, especially these things are now recorded and go online, say, well, you've made some very wrong statements about Israel. I strongly differ, but absolutely we can discuss X, Y, Z. Of course, the idea that America has no interest in the rest of the world, that America should not have any financial interest in working with Israel or working with Saudi Arabia or working with Egypt or working with Mexico or working with whatever the country is, because we have to just pour all of our money into healthcare and meeting the needs of the homeless and things like that, is to completely misunderstand how the world works and how world policy works. That would be a great time to educate. that'd be a great time to say, we have strategic alliances for various reasons. And these affect things in a broad way and ultimately will affect how you live and your standard of living because of the whole world economy being affected and things like that, and stability in the Middle East and how that affects. That's a great time to talk about that. It's one thing to accuse Israel of being an apartheid state, which is also wrong, ugly, and false. But to accuse Israel of ethnic genocide, think of what that means. That they are actively wiping out and slaughtering the Palestinians until there are none left. The reality is the Arab/Palestinians who remained in Israel and became part of the state of Israel went from a couple 100,000 in 1948, those that stayed there, to close to 2 million today. And then the Palestinians in the so-called West Bank and the Gaza Strip, they are what, 4, 5 million, a number like that? They have grown and multiplied rapidly. And when Israel does go to war against terrorists among the Palestinians, they do everything in their power to protect the civilians. No, a statement like that needs to be rebuked. Think of it like this. What if some white student said, Vice President Harris, as I'm reading about American history, I'm learning more now that the reason for segregation was because so many black Americans were thieves and robbers and killing people that we had to segregate. You think she'd say, well, I'm glad you brought up your truth and we don't want to suppress voice? No, you rebuke that. I just made that thing up. That's heinous. That's despicable. That's ugly. You don't say those kinds of things. But hey, comes to Israel, you have your truth. We don't want to suppress your voice. Yes, get the debate. Maybe Israel is guilty of ethnic genocide. Hey, this is a healthy debate. No, it's not a healthy debate to have. There is no debate to have. Those voices should be lovingly corrected. You're the vice president of the United States talking to a college student, a university student. Lovingly correct, and then bring an affirmation to larger points for larger debate. Please. Hey, friends, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, click on one of the boxes on the screen, check out another one of our videos, and be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. We discovered that about 60% of you that are watching our videos aren't subscribers, so subscribe today. Doesn't cost you a dime. And if you want to support our work, Line of Fire, and all the things that we do, follow one of the links on the screen below.